Hi, my name is IDREES, and the piece I'm going to present today is called A Ciorg Researcher. I'm going to investigate what it means to collaborate in the world that has been affected by pandemic. Who am I and who are you? When faced with this question in a pre-pandemic world, I would say that I am a PhD researcher, a feminist, and my name, SYEDA, though I like to be identified as SIDRA. The concept of identity, which Goffman presents as the performance of the roles, has always been interesting to me. Therefore, my PhD is going to explore the impact of immigration policies on the future sense of identity of unaccompanied refugee minors in UK and Belgium. I would be utilizing intersectionality as epistemological approach and ask-based methods for inquiry. Starting my PhD in the world of global pandemic, I became an interesting case study for myself and perhaps for all the researchers out there. Therefore, my ICQI piece investigates the transformation of my identity, which is a researcher's identity, in the technologically connected pandemic world, with special focus on evolving dynamics of collaboration. When faced with the same question of who am I in the pandemic world, I observe my narrative evolve, put best in the world. My new identity is the intersection between what is tangible, that is human, and what is intangible, that is my identity in the cloud, with technology as an essential enabler of it. This pleasant revelation of a hybrid identity that is part physical and part digital brought me across Donna Haraway's piece called A Cyborg Manifesto, which introduces post-humanism with the rejection of boundaries between human and machine and antagonistic dualism, which promotes otherness. She stresses how the high-tech culture enabled by information technology has challenged the antagonistic dualism of the contemporary world. Haraway's analogy helps me to think about my own identity as a researcher who has to work, socialize, and collaborate in the cloud. However, Haraway's post-human cyborg, which is a cyber organism self, is physical, since it is made up of part bionic objects and part human. Nonetheless, I envision my identity as a researcher in a world enabled by cloud computing and cloud networking. I am a Ciorg. The word Ciorg is made up of two words, Psi, an abbreviation for cirrus clouds, and org, which is short of organism. A cirrus cloud is an interesting reference here since it is the highest, up to 40,000 feet, and fastest 100 miles per hour of the 10 forms of clouds. It stretches across the continents and exists in the toughest of the temperatures, which is up to -40 degrees Celsius. In the context of this account, the reference to cirrus is to hold the characteristics of cirrus clouds analogous to the features of digital cloud computing and cloud networking. Owing to my cloud-like characteristics, I would say that I am now able to collaborate across the borders, like cirrus stretches across continents. I am free of physical limitations that are put onto me by global pandemic, and I would continue to learn as the cloud moves from one place to another, and would evolve my own diasporic identity. Here, it would not be wrong to say that the Borg, which is the organism side of my new identity, has understood that it needs a strong collaboration with the Psi, which is the cirrus side of it, to thrive as a PhD researcher. This phenomenon of adaptability has been called as the survival of the fittest and evolution by Darwin, and the feminist Bridoti, under her post-human thought, calls this the convergence of soul, the life, bios, the life of human organisms and society, and technology. I, on the other hand, call it my malleability to the new world, an evolution of 4 collaborative frames as a researcher, which are Ciorg researcher in an academic and professional frame, a Ciorg researcher in a social frame, a Ciorg as an individual, and a researcher in a transformative phase. Collaborating as a Ciorg researcher over the cloud, I realized that not only knowledge creation, but knowledge networking was possible as well as inclusive. I recently attended a workshop on African feminism where the women from around the world got together to discuss how knowledge creation could be decolonized. such a workshop and such an opportunity for networking would not have been possible in the previous world, where physical borders would limit the movement to move to these places. Knowledge preservation has also become common and easy in the world over the cloud. Recently, I attended another seminar over narrative portraits, where an actor acts and shows what it means to be gay. Going back to that recording would be delightful, and to learn from it would also be very helpful for my own research. I have also realized how power barriers have disintegrated between the mentor and the mentee, and the speaker and the listener in the world over the cloud. Recently, I attended a seminar on alcohol abuse by refugees in Scotland, where I observed collaborative sharing of knowledge and blatant rejection of some suggestions around the findings of report by the audience within a big physical seminar is less likely to happen. As a Ciorg researcher in a social frame, I realized that social interaction has evolved in the COVID world when I received an invitation from a fellow student to take a creative and humorous photo with a toilet brush. The purpose of the initiative was to ensure that other students, that everybody was in the cyber world together, and that we can still collaborate and engage via various means. Since my PhD is in 2 institutions, I was able to meet and engage with my team in KU Leuven on virtual coffee breaks. I was also able to collaboratively participate and deliver a lecture online on researcher assessment. However, the challenge of social interaction on the cloud is the difficulty to have a prolonged human connection. Next point of discussion is my collaboration with the self, that can best be described by allegory of cave by Plato, in which he discusses some inmates that have been kept in a cave and their entire reality depends upon the shadows that appear on the wall, until one inmate gets free and comes back with the knowledge of the world which is rejected by the inmates of the cave. Being a captive in a pre-COVID world where my internal identity was a people's person has been challenged by sudden release in the world of the cloud. However, being a dynamic Ciorg, there's a learning curve to my identity lost to the inmates of Plato's cave. It is vital that the world continues to evolve and transform digitally in a post-COVID world, which brings me to my next point, which is what it means to transform and be in a transformative world as a Ciorg researcher. Transformation via upskilling, enabling effective digital collaboration is the call of the time, and a recent invitation by World Economic Forum. World Economic Forum wants civil society, academia, and corporate sector to come together to suggest ways of skill adaptability for the employees around the world in the digitally dependent COVID and post-COVID world. Lifelong learning, just like artificial intelligence for cloud computing, becomes important here. However, COVID-19 has exposed social inequalities, where poor from countries like Pakistan, where 8 million of the population lives under the poverty line, do not have access to technology and hence are forced to work under unsafe circumstances. This brings me to my point to ponder for all of you, which is how do we update, upskill, and upload our new evolved identities in this world of inequalities so that we make peace with the now seemingly unshakable side of our org. Thank you so much.